You know that moment when your entire world just shatters. When the person you trusted most looks you dead in the eye and tells you that everything you've been doing, everything you've sacrificed, means absolutely nothing. Yeah, I lived that moment. And what came after? Well, let's just say my husband learned a lesson he'll never forget. My name is Sarah, and this is the story of how my husband told me I had it easy. How he mocked me, belittled me, challenged me to switch roles because he thought being a stay-at-home mom was just sitting around all day doing nothing. He actually thought his corporate job was so much harder than raising our 3 kids, managing our home, and keeping our lives from falling apart. So I gave him exactly what he asked for. I got a job, I switched roles with him, and I watched as his perfect little world crumbled brick by brick, day by day, meal by meal, tantrum by tantrum. I watched him break. And honestly, I didn't lift a finger to stop it. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't something you do to someone. It's simply letting them experience the reality they refuse to see. But before I tell you how it all fell apart, before I take you through the most satisfying months of my life, I need you to do something for me. Smash that like button right now. Subscribe to this channel and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. Because trust me, you're going to want to follow this journey from start to finish. And who knows, maybe my story will give you the courage to stand up for yourself too. Now, let me take you back to where it all began. Back to the moment I realized the man I married had no idea who I really was or what I was actually capable of. It was a Tuesday evening, late September. The kind of evening where the air just starts to get that crisp autumn feeling, and you can smell someone's fireplace burning a few houses down. I remember it so clearly because it was the day everything changed. The day I stopped being the woman who swallowed her pride and started being the woman who took back her power. I was in the kitchen, again, like always. I'd been cooking dinner while simultaneously helping my 8-year-old, Emma, with her math homework, breaking up a fight between my 5-year-old twins, Jake and Lily, and trying to answer emails from the school PTA about the upcoming fall festival. My phone was buzzing. The stove timer was going off. Lily was crying because Jake had taken her favorite crayon. Emma was frustrated because she didn't understand fractions. And the dog was barking at absolutely nothing. This was my normal. This was every single day of my life. Then I heard the garage door open. My husband, David, was home. I felt that familiar knot form in my stomach, not because I wasn't happy to see him, but because I knew what was coming. I knew that walk through the door routine, the heavy sigh, the loosened tie, the look of exhaustion like he'd just returned from war. He walked into the kitchen, dropped his briefcase on the counter, right on top of the clean laundry I'd just folded, and let out this deep, dramatic exhale. "Rough day?" I asked, stirring the pasta sauce, not even looking up. "You have no idea," he muttered, opening the fridge and grabbing a beer. "Absolutely brutal. Back-to-back meetings, conference calls, dealing with incompetent people all day. I'm exhausted." I nodded. "Dinner's almost ready. Can you just help Emma with her homework for a second? I need to get the twins." "Sarah, I just got home," he interrupted, already walking toward the living room. "I've been working all day. I need a minute to decompress. Can't you handle it?" Handle it? Like I hadn't been handling everything since 6 o'clock that morning. Like I'd been sitting around eating bonbons while he fought the good fight out in the real world. I bit my tongue. I finished dinner. I got the kids to the table. I served everyone. I cleaned up the spills. I mediated another argument. I gave baths. I read bedtime stories. I tucked everyone in. And by the time I finally sat down on the couch next to David at 9:30 that night, I was running on fumes. He was watching some sports recap, scrolling through his phone. "Long day?" he asked absently, not even looking at me. "Yeah," I said quietly, "really long." He grunted in response. That was it. That was the acknowledgement I got for a 14-hour shift of non-stop parenting, cooking, cleaning, organizing, and emotional labor. But that wasn't the moment. Not yet. That was just another Tuesday, another invisible day in my invisible life. The real moment came 3 days later. Friday night, date night, or at least it used to be. Now it was just another night, except David stayed up a little later and we maybe watched a movie instead of passing out from exhaustion. We'd ordered takeout, Chinese food, a rare treat where I didn't have to cook. The kids were finally asleep after an especially chaotic evening involving a science project I'd somehow forgotten about, a minor playground injury, and a full-scale meltdown over the wrong pajamas. I came downstairs, poured myself a very large glass of wine, and collapsed onto the couch next to David. "I'm dead," I said, "absolutely dead." He chuckled. "Kids wear you out." "David, Emma's science project is due Monday. Monday. And she just told me tonight. So tomorrow I have to go get supplies, help her build a model of the solar system, make sure it's actually good enough that she won't be embarrassed. Plus I have Jake's soccer game at 9, Lily's birthday party to organize for next weekend, groceries to get, the house to clean, and about 17 other things I'm probably forgetting." He was still looking at his phone. "Hum. Are you even listening to me?" He looked up, slightly annoyed. "Yes, Sarah, I'm listening. You have a busy weekend. I get it." "Do you?" I felt something rising in my chest. Frustration, anger, something I'd been pushing down for months, maybe years. "Do you really get it?" He sighed and put his phone down. "What's this about?" "It's about the fact that you come home every day acting like you've been through hell, and I've been doing what? Nothing. It's about the fact that you get to check out when you're tired, but I never get to check out. Ever. It's about the fact that you don't seem to see or appreciate anything I actually do around here." Whoa. He held up his hands. "Where is this coming from?" "It's coming from the fact that I'm exhausted, David. I'm so tired, and I feel completely invisible." He stared at me for a long moment, and then he said something I'll never forget. "Sarah, come on, you're tired. You're home all day, you're not commuting in traffic. You're not dealing with office politics or deadlines or a boss breathing down your neck. You get to make your own schedule, hang out with the kids, watch TV. I mean, yeah, it's work, but let's be real. It's not like what I do." I felt like I'd been slapped. "Excuse me." "I'm just saying," he continued, taking a sip of his beer, completely oblivious to the bomb he'd just dropped. "Being a stay-at-home mom is hard, sure, but it's not the same as a real job. You don't have performance reviews. You don't have metrics to hit. You've got it pretty easy compared to what I deal with every day." "Easy?" He said I had it easy. I sat there, wine glass in hand, staring at this man I'd been married to for 10 years. This man I'd given up my career for. I used to be a marketing manager. I was good at my job. I loved my job. But when Emma was born, we decided together that it made sense for me to stay home. Daycare was expensive. Someone needed to be present for the kids, and David's career was taking off. So I sacrificed. I put my dreams on hold. I poured everything into our family, into our home, into making sure he could go to work every day without worrying about anything domestic. And he thought I had it easy. "You think I have it easy," I repeated slowly, my voice dangerously calm. "I mean, relatively speaking, yeah," he shrugged. "Don't get me wrong, I appreciate what you do, but you're not under the same kind of pressure I am." Something snapped inside me, not loudly, not dramatically, just a quiet, clean break, like a wire pulled too tight for too long finally giving up. "Okay," I said. He looked confused. "Okay." "Yeah, okay. If you think it's so easy, if you think what I do every day is just a walk in the park, then how about we switch?" He laughed, actually laughed. "Switch? Yeah, I'll get a job, go back to work, and you can stay home with the kids, handle the house, do all the easy stuff, since it's so much less stressful than your job." He was still smiling like I was joking. "Sarah, come on." "I'm serious, David. You think you're under so much pressure. You think I've got it easy. Prove it. Trade places with me." The smile faded a little. "You're being ridiculous." "Am I? You just sat there and told me that everything I do is basically nothing compared to your important corporate job. So back it up. Show me how easy it is." He stared at me, and I could see the wheels turning. He was trying to figure out if I was serious, if this was some kind of test. "You really want to do this?" he asked. "I really do. There was a long pause. And then, because he's David, because he's arrogant and stubborn and absolutely convinced of his own superiority, he said the words that sealed his fate. "Fine, let's do it. Let's switch. You go get a job and I'll handle everything here. I'll show you it's not that hard. Deal." I extended my hand. Deal. We shook on it, and I saw it in his eyes. He thought he was going to teach me a lesson. He thought I'd last maybe a week in the real world before coming back, apologizing, admitting he was right. He had no idea what he'd just agreed to. He had no idea who he was messing with. And honestly, I couldn't wait to watch him find out. That night after our deal, after that handshake that would change everything, I didn't sleep much. I lay in bed next to David, listening to him snore peacefully, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Excitement. Not nervousness, not fear, pure electric excitement. See, here's what David didn't know. Here's what he'd completely forgotten in his comfortable little bubble of ignorance. I wasn't always a stay-at-home mom. I wasn't always the woman who disappeared into the background of our life. Before kids, before marriage consumed my identity, I was damn good at what I did. I had a career, a real one. I managed marketing campaigns for a major firm. I negotiated deals. I led teams. I was sharp, ambitious, and hungry. And I'd given all of that up not because I couldn't hack it, but because we made a choice as a family. But David had forgotten that version of me. Or maybe he'd never really believed in her in the first place. That was his first mistake. The next morning, Saturday, I woke up with a plan. While David slept in like he did every weekend, I was already at the kitchen table with my laptop, updating my resume. The kids were watching cartoons, blessedly quiet for once, and I was in the zone. It had been 8 years since I'd worked in an office. 8 years since I'd interviewed for a job or networked or even thought about myself as a professional. But as I typed, as I listed my old accomplishments and updated my skills, I felt something coming back to life inside me. I wasn't just doing this to prove a point. I was doing this because I'd forgotten who I used to be, and maybe, just maybe, it was time to meet her again. David stumbled downstairs around 10, looking confused. "What are you doing?" he asked, pouring coffee. "Updating my resume," I said without looking up. "Oh, you're actually serious about this?" "Completely serious. We shook on it, remember?" He scratched his head, still looking like he thought this was some elaborate joke. "When are you thinking of starting?" "As soon as I find a job. I'm reaching out to my old contacts today, updating my LinkedIn. I should start getting responses by next week." "Next week?" He looked slightly panicked now. "That's fast." "Well, you said it was easy, right? So it shouldn't be a problem." He opened his mouth, closed it, then tried a different approach. "What about the kids? What about everything here?" I looked up at him, smiled sweetly. "That's your job now, honey. That's the whole point. I'll handle the career. You handle the home. Equal partnership, right? Isn't that what we always said we wanted?" I could see him trying to figure out how to back out without admitting he was wrong. But his pride wouldn't let him. "Right," he said slowly. "Equal partnership." "Great. So today you've got Jake's soccer game at 9. Oh wait, it's already past 9, so you missed that. Probably should set an alarm next time. Also, Emma needs supplies for her science project. There's a list on the fridge. The twins need lunch in about an hour. Lily only eats the organic mac and cheese, not the regular kind, or she'll have a complete meltdown. Jake needs his sandwich cut into triangles, not squares, crusts off. And Emma's going to her friend Sophie's house at 2, so you need to drive her there, but make sure you get Sophie's mom's number in case anything happens. Oh, and we're out of milk, bread, and pretty much everything else, so grocery shopping needs to happen. I made a list. It's also on the fridge. David just stared at me. Also, I continued, the twins have a bath schedule every other night. Tonight's a bath night. They fight it, so good luck. Emma needs to read for 30 minutes before bed. It's for school. Make sure she actually reads and doesn't just flip through the pages. And Sunday we have a birthday party for Lily's friend at noon. I RSVP'd yes. The present is already wrapped. It's in the hall closet. Don't forget it like last time. Last time, he asked weakly. Last time I trusted you to handle a birthday party drop-off, and you showed up without a gift, and I had to run to Target in the middle of the party. That was one time. Okay, well, don't make it 2 times. I went back to my laptop. He stood there in the kitchen, coffee mug in hand, looking genuinely lost. You're really doing this, he said again. I'm really doing this. He set his mug down. Fine, I'll handle today, it's just one day. How hard can it be? Famous last words. I watched him over the top of my laptop screen as he looked at the list on the fridge. Actually, lists plural. There was the grocery list, the schedule, the meal plan, the medication schedule for Emma's allergies, the pickup and drop-off times, the emergency contacts, the list of lists. His face went a little pale. Sarah, this is a lot of stuff. Hum, I said, typing away. But remember, it's easy. You said so yourself. By noon, the house was chaos. David had attempted to make lunch and somehow burned grilled cheese sandwiches. The smoke alarm went off. Jake was crying because his sandwich was wrong. Lily was having a meltdown because we were, in fact, out of the organic mac and cheese. Emma was frustrated because David had forgotten to take her to Sophie's house, and now she'd missed their hangout time. And David was standing in the middle of the kitchen, surrounded by dishes, crying children, and the remnants of his failed lunch attempt, looking absolutely shell-shocked. I just need to, he started, then stopped. Can you just help me with? Nope, I said cheerfully, closing my laptop. This is your job now, remember? I've got to focus on my career. You've got this, honey. It's easy, right? I grabbed my purse and keys. Where are you going? He asked, almost desperately. Out, I need to clear my head, do some thinking. Maybe meet up with an old colleague for coffee. You know, career stuff. I'll be back in a few hours. A few hours, Sarah, You'll be fine, David. They're just kids. It's just a house. How hard can it be? I threw his own words right back at him, and the look on his face was absolutely priceless. Then I walked out the door, got in my car, and for the first time in 8 years, I drove away from my home in the middle of a Saturday with absolutely no responsibilities. And it felt like freedom. I didn't actually have a coffee meeting. I just drove. I went to a bookstore and browsed for an hour. I sat at a coffee shop alone, drinking an overpriced latte and reading a book. I walked through Target without a cart, without a list, without 3 tiny humans pulling things off shelves. I remembered what it felt like to be just me, not mom, not wife, just Sarah. And when I finally came home, 3 hours later, I opened the door to absolute pandemonium. The living room looked like a tornado had hit it. There were toys everywhere. The TV was blaring. Lily was crying upstairs. Jake was running around in just a diaper even though he'd been potty trained for 2 years. Emma was on her tablet, completely unsupervised. And David was sitting on the kitchen floor, head in his hands, looking like he'd been through a war. He looked up when I walked in. How was your afternoon? I asked sweetly. He just stared at me. This is impossible. What is? All of it, everything. They won't listen. They keep fighting. I can't get anything done. I tried to clean up and they just destroyed it again. I don't understand how you do this every single day. I smiled, not meanly, just knowingly. Oh, honey, I said. This was just one afternoon. Wait until you've done it for 8 years straight. And that's when I saw it. The first crack. The first tiny moment of realization that maybe, just maybe, he'd made a mistake. But we were just getting started. This was only day 1. That Saturday night, after I'd rescued the house from total destruction, after I'd fed the kids actual edible food, after I'd managed bedtime while David sat on the couch in stunned silence, we had our first real conversation about what was going to happen. I sat down across from him with a glass of wine. He looked exhausted, genuinely, truly exhausted, and it had only been one afternoon. So, I said casually, how are you feeling about our arrangement? He ran his hands through his hair. Sarah, look, maybe I was a little harsh the other night. Maybe I didn't fully understand how much you juggle. But this whole switching roles thing, it's a bit extreme, don't you think? I took a sip of wine. Is it? Come on, you don't actually want to go back to work. You love being home with the kids. And there it was. The assumption. The narrative he'd built in his head to make himself feel better about everything. Do I asked quietly. Do I love it, or have I just never had another choice? He looked confused. You always had a choice. Did I, David? Because I remember when Emma was born and we sat down and did the math. We looked at daycare costs. We looked at our salaries. And yeah, we decided together that I'd stay home. But what you seem to forget is that it was supposed to be temporary. Remember, we said I'd stay home for a year, maybe 2, and then we'd revisit it. He was quiet. That was 8 years ago, David. 8 years. And every time I brought up going back to work, you had a reason why it wasn't the right time. Emma was too young. Then the twins came. Then it didn't make financial sense. Then the kids needed stability. There was always a reason. Because it made sense for our family, he argued. It made sense for you, I corrected. It made sense for your career, your freedom, your life, while mine completely disappeared. That's not fair. Isn't it? When was the last time I went out with friends? When was the last time I had a hobby? When was the last time I did anything just for me? I can't even go to the bathroom alone, David. I haven't had a full night's sleep in 8 years. I haven't had a sick day. I haven't had a vacation, because being a mom doesn't come with any of that. And you know what the worst part is? He didn't answer. The worst part is that you don't even see it. You come home every day and you see a clean house and fed kids and dinner on the table, and you think it just happens by magic. You think I'm just lounging around while all of this takes care of itself. You have no idea how hard I work, and honestly, I'm done trying to explain it to you. My voice had gotten stronger as I talked, clearer. I wasn't crying. I wasn't yelling. I was just stating facts. So yes, I continued, we're switching roles. Not because I want to punish you, not because I'm trying to prove some petty point, but because I need you to understand. I need you to see what my life actually is. And maybe, just maybe, I need to remember who I was before I became invisible. David sat there for a long moment. I could see him processing. Part of him wanted to argue. Part of him wanted to back out, but his pride wouldn't let him. Fine, he finally said. We'll do it, we'll switch. But you need to actually get a job first, and that might take weeks, months even. The job market is tough. I smiled. Don't worry about that. I've already got 3 interviews lined up for this week. His eyes went wide. What, how? LinkedIn, email, old contacts. You'd be surprised how many people remember me, David. How many people said they'd been hoping I'd come back to the workforce. I had 5 messages today from recruiters, 3 from old colleagues. 1 from my old boss saying he'd love to grab coffee and talk about opportunities. This week, he repeated weakly. Yep, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So you'll need to handle the kids those mornings. Drop-offs, the whole routine. I'll write everything down for you. He looked like he'd been hit by a truck. Sarah, I have work. So do I now. That's the point. You'll need to figure out flexibility. Maybe work from home. Maybe adjust your hours. That's what I would have had to do if I'd gone back to work, right? Now it's your turn. I can't just work from home whenever I want. Then you'll need to talk to your boss, explain the situation, figure it out. This is insane. No, David, this is equality. This is what a real partnership looks like. Welcome to it. The next few days were a blur. I spent Sunday preparing. I went through my closet and realized I had nothing appropriate to wear to an interview. Everything was mom clothes, yoga pants, old jeans, t-shirts with stains I couldn't identify. So Monday morning, I went shopping. I took money from our joint account and I bought myself interview clothes, a blazer, professional pants, heels that weren't covered in scuff marks. I got my hair cut and styled. I even got my nails done. When I came home Monday afternoon, David was working at the kitchen table, laptop open, phone to his ear, while chaos erupted around him. The twins were fighting over a toy. Emma was asking for help with homework. There were dishes piled in the sink. He looked up when I walked in, saw my shopping bags, and his jaw tightened. "Did you buy all that?" "I need interview clothes," I said simply. "That's a lot of bags." "You have an entire closet full of suits and professional clothes." I had nothing. So yes, I bought what I needed. He wanted to argue, I could see it, but he couldn't, not without being a complete hypocrite. Tuesday morning came. My first interview. I woke up early, actually did my makeup for the first time in forever, put on my new outfit, and looked at myself in the mirror. I barely recognized the woman staring back at me. She looked confident, professional, powerful. She looked like someone who had her life together. I went downstairs to find David in full panic mode. "Where are Emma's shoes?" he was asking frantically. "She says she can't find her shoes and we need to leave in 10 minutes. "They're by the back door where they always are," I said calmly, pouring coffee into a travel mug. "Lily won't eat her breakfast. She doesn't like that cereal. She only eats the one with the purple box." "Why do they have to be so picky?" he muttered, running to find Emma's shoes. "You have Jake's lunch packed?" I asked. His face went pale. "Lunch, right, lunch." "David, he needs lunch for school." I know, I'll figure it out." I looked at the clock. I needed to leave or I'd be late for my interview. "Okay, well, good luck," I said, grabbing my purse and my coffee. "Wait, you're leaving now?" "I have an interview at 9. Downtown. I need to beat traffic." "But I need help with." "You've got this," I said, channeling every dismissive thing he'd ever said to me. "They're just kids. Breakfast, drop-off, pick-up, lunch. It's easy, remember." And I walked out the door while he stood there, lunch box in one hand, a crying twin on his leg, looking absolutely terrified. The interview went incredibly well, better than I expected. It was for a marketing position at a mid-size firm. The interviewer was a woman in her 50s who'd also taken time off for kids and understood the gap in my resume. "Honestly," she said, leaning back in her chair, "some of our best hires have been parents returning to the workforce. You learn skills at home that translate incredibly well. Time management, crisis management, negotiation, multitasking under pressure. These are all things we value." I felt seen, actually seen, for the first time in years. "We'd love to bring you in for a second interview," she said at the end. "Can you do Friday?" "Absolutely," I said without hesitation. I left that office feeling like I was walking on air. I sat in my car for a minute, just breathing, just existing in the possibility of it all. Then my phone buzzed, a text from David. "Where is Jake's EpiPen?" I sighed, then I texted back, "In the red bag in the pantry, always in the same place." Another text, "Which pantry?" I didn't respond. He'd figure it out. Wednesday's interview was even better. Thursdays led to an on-the-spot job offer for a contract position that could go permanent. By Friday, I had 3 offers to choose from. 3. In 1 week, I'd gone from invisible housewife to having companies compete for me. I chose the best one, a marketing director position at a growing tech company. Great salary, benefits, the option to work from home 2 days a week. It was perfect. I called and accepted Friday afternoon. I started Monday. When I told David that night, he looked like I'd just told him I was moving to Mars. "Monday, as in 4 days from now Monday." "Yep." "Sarah, that's too fast. I need time to prepare. I need to figure out how to balance work and the kids. I need." "David, you've had all week. You've been doing it all week. What's the difference?" "The difference is that this week you've been home by noon. You've still been handling most of it. If you're working full-time, that means I'm actually on my own." I looked at him carefully. "Are you saying you can't do it?" "I'm saying it's harder than I thought." "So you admit it's not easy?" He hesitated, pride warring with reality. "It's challenging, but I can handle it." "Good, because I already accepted. I start Monday at 8, which means you're on morning duty. Breakfast, getting everyone dressed, drop-offs, all of it." "What about pickups?" "Emma gets out at 3, the twins at 3:30. I should be home by 5 most days so I can do pickups, but mornings are all you. He looked overwhelmed. What about dinner? You're home all day. You can cook. I don't know how to cook what they like. Then I guess you'll learn. I did. YouTube is great for recipes. I wasn't being cruel. I wasn't being mean. I was simply giving him the exact same energy he'd given me for 8 years. Figure it out. You've got this. How hard can it be? That weekend before I started my new job was surreal. I spent Saturday preparing. Not preparing the house or the kids or David, preparing myself. I set up my home office in the spare room we'd been using for storage. I cleaned it out, moved boxes to the garage, set up a desk and my laptop. I bought office supplies, notebooks, pens that actually worked, a nice planner. I organized my new work clothes in the closet. I meal prepped my lunches for the week. I created a morning routine for myself that didn't involve anyone else's needs. And David spent the weekend trying to create systems. I watched him make spreadsheets, schedules, lists. He color-coded the calendar. He set phone alarms for every single thing, drop-off times, pick-up times, meal times, homework time, bath time, bedtime. He was approaching parenting like a work project, like something he could optimize and manage with the right tools. I didn't say anything. I just let him do it. Sunday night, we put the kids to bed together. Well, I put the kids to bed while David watched and took notes. Actual notes. So Lily needs her nightlight, but not the one with stars, the one with the moon, he muttered, writing it down. Yep. And Jake needs his blue blanket, not the green one. Correct. And Emma reads for 30 minutes, but you have to actually check that she's reading. Right. He looked at his notebook, absolutely filled with tiny details. How do you remember all of this? I just do, David, because I have to, because I'm their mom and this is my life. He shook his head. There's so much. And that's just bedtime. Wait until you learn all the food preferences, the meltdown triggers, the friendship dynamics at school, who's not talking to who, which teacher emails back fast and which one you have to follow up with 3 times, which parents are good for playdates and which ones you avoid. His face went pale. There's more. David, what you've learned this week is maybe 10% of what I actually carry in my head every single day. I wasn't exaggerating. The mental load of being the primary parent isn't just about tasks. It's about holding an entire universe of information. Knowing that Jake is allergic to red dye, that Emma is being excluded by a girl in her class and is sensitive about it. That Lily is going through a phase where she's afraid of the dark, but won't admit it. It's knowing everyone's favorite foods, their fears, their dreams, their routines. It's anticipating needs before they're expressed. It's managing emotional states and social dynamics and physical health all at once. And David was just starting to see the tip of the iceberg. That night, lying in bed, he turned to me. Are you nervous? He asked. About tomorrow. A little, I admitted. It's been a long time since I've worked in an office. What if it's too much? What if trying to balance everything is too hard? I looked at him. You mean the way it's been too hard for me for 8 years? He didn't have an answer for that. I'll be fine, I said. I'm good at what I do, or at least I was. I think it'll come back. And you really think I can handle everything here? I could have been kind. I could have reassured him. But instead, I said exactly what he'd said to me a week ago. It's easy, right? You'll be fine. He didn't sleep well that night. I could feel him tossing and turning. I could hear his anxiety. Meanwhile, I slept like a baby. Because for the first time in almost a decade, I was excited about the next day instead of dreading it. Monday morning came fast. My alarm went off at 6. I actually got up before the kids, showered in peace, did my makeup, put on my professional clothes. I made myself breakfast and ate it while it was still hot. David stumbled downstairs at 6:30, already looking frazzled. The kids aren't up yet, he said. You need to wake them at 6:45 if you want to make drop-off on time, I said calmly, sipping my coffee. Right, okay, 6:45. He poured himself coffee with shaking hands. You have Jake's lunch packed? I asked. Did it last night. It's in the fridge. Good. Emma needs her permission slip signed for the field trip. It's in her folder. Permission slip, got it. And the twins have gymnastics today after school, so you'll need to pack their leotards and… Wait, gymnastics. I thought that was Wednesdays. It was. They moved it to Mondays this month. I put it on the calendar. He grabbed his phone, checked the calendar, and I watched the color drain from his face. There's so much on here. That's a normal week, I said simply. At 7:15, I grabbed my bag, my coffee, and my keys. Okay, I'm heading out, I announced. David was in the middle of trying to convince Lily to get dressed. She was having a full meltdown about her shirt being too itchy. You're leaving now, he asked desperately. I need to be at the office by 8. Traffic's going to be bad. But Lily won't get dressed, and Jake can't find his backpack and Emma. You've got this, I said brightly. Then I leaned down to the kids. Be good for Daddy, okay? Mommy's going to work. Emma looked up, confused. You're going to work? Yep, just like Daddy does. Now Daddy's going to take care of you guys during the day. Like a nanny? Jake asked. I bit back a smile. Sort of, but better because he's your dad. Is this forever? Emma asked quietly. We'll see, sweetheart. But for now, yes, Mommy has a job. I kissed each of them, grabbed my things, and walked toward the door. Sarah, wait, David started. But I didn't wait. I walked out, got in my car, and backed out of the driveway while he stood at the front door, still in his pajamas, with 3 kids in various states of chaos around him. And as I drove away, watching our house get smaller in the rearview mirror, I felt something I hadn't felt in 8 years. Freedom. The commute was actually peaceful. I listened to a podcast. I drank my coffee. I didn't break up fights or answer endless questions or wipe anyone's anything. I parked in the company garage, walked into the building, and felt like I was stepping into a different universe. Everyone was dressed professionally, moving with purpose, having adult conversations about adult things. I checked in at reception, got my badge, and was walked to my new office. My office, with a door and a window and a desk that wasn't covered in crayon marks. Sarah, welcome. My new boss, Amanda, greeted me with a warm handshake. We're so excited to have you on the team. Let me introduce you to everyone. The morning was a whirlwind of introductions, orientation, setting up my computer, learning systems. And you know what? It was fun. It was challenging and engaging, and I was using parts of my brain that had been dormant for years. At 10 o'clock, I was in a meeting, an actual meeting with other adults, discussing marketing strategy for a product launch. Someone asked my opinion. My opinion. On something that wasn't related to which snack was better, or whose turn it was to pick the TV show. I think we should target the campaign toward mid-level professionals, I said. The data shows that's where our engagement is highest, and if we focus our ad spend there, we'll get better ROI than casting a wider net. Amanda nodded. I like that. Let's run those numbers and see how it looks. Just like that, my input was valued, considered. I wasn't invisible. Around 11, my phone buzzed. A text from David. How do you get marker off the wall? I stared at it for a second, then put my phone on silent and dropped it in my bag. Not my problem today. Lunch was incredible. I went to the cafeteria with 2 coworkers, both women around my age. We talked about work, about the company, about our lives. I mentioned I had 3 kids and they were impressed. I don't know how you do it, one of them said. I have one and I'm barely surviving. Well, my husband's handling them today, I said, and it felt so good to say that. We switched roles. He's staying home now. Oh wow, that's amazing. How's he doing? I checked my phone. 7 texts from David, all minor crises. Adjusting, I said with a smile. The afternoon flew by. I worked on campaign ideas. I collaborated with the design team. I felt competent, useful, valued. At 4:30, My phone rang. David's name flashed on the screen. I stepped out of the office to answer. "Hey, what's up?" "Where are the twins?" he asked, voice tight with panic. My heart dropped. "What do you mean, where are they?" "I picked up Emma at 3, but the twins' school says I never picked them up. But I could have sworn Sarah, I don't know where they are." Ice ran through my veins. "David, you were supposed to get them at 3:30. Did you forget them?" "I thought gymnastics was a drop-off program. I thought someone else had them." "No, we always stay for gymnastics. David, go to their school right now. They're probably in the office terrified, wondering where you are." Oh my God, okay, I'm going now." He hung up. I stood there in the hallway, heart pounding. He forgot the twins. He actually forgot to pick up our children. 10 minutes later, he texted, "Got them, they're okay. They were in the office, they were scared, but they're fine." I called him immediately. "What the hell, David?" "I'm sorry, I got confused. There's so much to track and I mixed up the schedule and—" "You forgot our children." I know, I'm sorry. It won't happen again." I took a deep breath. "Are they really okay?" "Yeah, they're fine. A little shaken up, but fine. I'm taking them home now." "Okay, I'll be home by 5:30. I hung up and stood there, trying to calm down. Part of me wanted to leave work right then, to rush home and hold my bobbies and make sure they were okay. But another part of me, the part that was tired of always being the safety net, stayed put. He messed up. He'd have to deal with the consequences. At 5:15, I packed up my desk and headed home. When I walked in the door at 5:40, the house was quiet. Too quiet. The twins were on the couch, watching TV. They ran to me when they saw me. "Mommy, Daddy forgot us," Lily said, eyes still red from crying. I scooped them both up. "I know, baby, I'm so sorry. That must have been really scary." We waited, and everyone else got picked up, and we were the only ones left, Jake said quietly. My heart broke. "I'm so sorry that happened. Where's Daddy?" "In his room," Emma said from the kitchen table, where she was doing homework. "He's been in there for like an hour." I got the twins settled with a snack, checked on Emma, and then went upstairs. David was sitting on our bed, head in his hands. "Hey," I said quietly. He looked up, his eyes were red. "I messed up." "Yeah, you did." "I forgot them, Sarah. What kind of father forgets his own kids?" "The kind who's overwhelmed and wasn't paying attention. It happens." "Does it happen to you?" "No," I admitted, "but I've had 8 years of practice. You've had a week." "I can't do this," he whispered. "I can't. There's too much, too many details, too many things to remember. I don't know how you've been doing this." I sat down next to him. "I've been doing it because I had to, because there was no other option, because you were at work and someone had to hold everything together. I thought it would be easier." "I know you did." We sat there in silence for a moment. "How was your first day?" he finally asked. "It was great," I said honestly. "Really great. I felt like myself again, like a whole person, not just someone's mom." He nodded slowly. "I'm glad." "Are you?" "Yeah, I am. You deserve that. I don't know if I can be what the kids need." "You can," I said. "You just have to actually try. You have to be present. You have to pay attention. You can't treat this like a work project you can optimize. These are our children. They need you to actually care, not just manage." He was quiet for a long time. "I'm sorry," he finally said, "for saying it was easy, for not seeing how hard you work, for taking you for granted." It was the first real apology I'd gotten, and part of me wanted to accept it and end this whole experiment. But we weren't done yet. One bad day wasn't enough. He needed to really understand, really feel it. "Apology accepted," I said, "but we're not switching back yet. We had a deal. We're seeing this through." He looked at me, exhausted and defeated. "How long?" "Until you truly get it, until things change for real." And with that, I got up and went downstairs to make dinner. Because even on my first day of work, even after he'd messed up, I was still the one who had to make sure everyone got fed. Some things, it seemed, were harder to change than others. The first week of our new arrangement was brutal. Not for me, for David. I was thriving, absolutely thriving. Every morning I woke up early, got myself ready in peace, and left the house before the chaos started. I'd arrive at work energized, ready to tackle whatever the day threw at me. I was remembering how good I was at this. How much I'd missed using my brain for strategic thinking instead of figuring out how to remove slime from carpet. My boss loved my ideas. My coworkers respected me. I was getting positive feedback daily. It felt incredible. Meanwhile, at home, David was drowning. Every single day brought a new disaster. Wednesday, he forgot it was early dismissal and showed up an hour late to get Emma. Thursday, he sent Jake to school with peanut butter crackers in his lunch, despite the classroom being nut-free. He got a strongly worded email from the teacher that he forwarded to me in a panic. Friday, he somehow lost Lily's favorite stuffed animal, the one she'd slept with every single night since she was born. The resulting meltdown lasted 3 hours. I'd come home each evening to find him exhausted, the house a mess, and dinner either burned or non-existent. The kids would run to me like I'd been gone for months instead of hours. "Mommy, guess what? Daddy let us have ice cream for lunch." "Mommy, we watched TV all day." "Mommy, Daddy said a bad word when he dropped the spaghetti." And David would just stand there in the kitchen, looking like he'd survived a natural disaster, waiting for me to fix everything. But I didn't. I'd changed into comfortable clothes, asked the kids about their day, and left David to clean up whatever mess he'd created. "Aren't you going to help with dinner?" he asked one night, watching me sit down with a glass of wine. "I've been working all day," I said, echoing every excuse he'd ever given me. "I need a minute to decompress. You've got this." He stared at me like I'd grown a second head. But what could he say? I was using his own playbook. By the end of week 2, the cracks were really showing. The house wasn't clean anymore. Laundry was piling up. The kids were eating more takeout than home-cooked meals. Emma had missed a homework assignment because David didn't check her folder. Jake wore mismatched shoes to school 2 days in a row because David didn't notice. And David himself looked terrible. He wasn't shaving regularly. His clothes were rumpled. He had dark circles under his eyes. He'd stopped going to the gym. He was stress-eating and snapping at everyone. Meanwhile, I'd lost 5 pounds, was sleeping better than I had in years, and had gotten a compliment from the CEO on a presentation I'd put together. The contrast was stark. "I need help," David finally admitted one Sunday night. We were in bed, both exhausted for very different reasons. "Help with what?" I asked. "All of it, the house, the kids, the schedule, I can't keep up." "What do you want me to do?" "Can we hire someone, a housekeeper, or a nanny?" I rolled over to look at him. "With what money?" "What do you mean, we have money?" "David, when you were working and I was home, did we have a housekeeper?" "No, but..." "Did we have a nanny?" "No." "So why should we hire help now that you're home? I managed without it. Why can't you?" He didn't have an answer, because the truth was staring him right in the face. He didn't think he should have to do what I'd been doing. He thought it was beneath him. Too hard. Too much. "It's different," he finally said. "How?" Because I'm not good at this stuff like you are." "You think I was magically good at it?" "David, I learned. I struggled. I cried in the bathroom more times than I can count. But I didn't have the option to just give up or hire someone to do it for me. I had to figure it out." "So you want me to suffer?" "No, I want you to understand. There's a difference." He turned away from me. "This isn't fair." "You're right," I said. "It's not fair. It wasn't fair for 8 years. Now you know how it feels." The next week, something shifted. David stopped asking me for help. Not because he was doing better, but because he was too proud to admit he was failing. He started looking up solutions online. YouTube videos on how to cook simple meals, articles on parenting strategies. He joined a Facebook group for stay-at-home dads. I watched him try, really try, and sometimes I wanted to step in, to help, to make it easier. But I didn't. Because he needed to feel this, all of it. One evening, about 3 weeks into our arrangement, I came home to find David sitting at the kitchen table with a glass of whiskey. The kids were in bed, somehow. The house was relatively clean. "Good day," I asked, setting down my work bag. He laughed. It wasn't a happy sound. Jake told his teacher that Daddy cries in the car. Emma's friend's mom asked if everything is okay at home, because Emma's been coming to school in wrinkled clothes. And Lily told her gymnastics instructor that she misses Mommy and Daddy's always on his phone. I sat down across from him. "David." "I'm failing," he said quietly. "As a parent, as a partner, at everything." "You're not failing. You're learning." "It's been 3 weeks, Sarah. 3 weeks and I'm barely keeping my head above water. You did this for 8 years. 8 years of this. And I never appreciated it. I never saw how hard you were working." His voice cracked. Actual tears were forming in his eyes. "I took you for granted," he continued. "I thought my job was more important. I thought what I did mattered more. But the truth is, what you've been doing is the hardest job there is, and I was too arrogant to see it." This was it, the breakthrough, the moment I'd been waiting for. But I didn't feel triumphant. I just felt tired. "So what now?" I asked. He looked up at me. "I don't know, what do you want?" It was the first time in our entire marriage that he'd asked me that question and actually waited for the answer. "I want partnership," I said. "Real partnership. Not me doing everything while you get to be the hero who goes to work. I want you to see me, to value what I contribute, whether I'm working or staying home or something in between." "I do see you now," he said. "God, do I see you." "Good, then we're making progress." He reached across the table and took my hand. "I'm sorry for all of it. You were right. I had no idea." I squeezed his hand. "I know." "Do you want to switch back?" he asked hopefully. "You could stay home again and I'll go back to work and I swear I'll be different. I'll help more. I'll appreciate you. I'll—" "No," I interrupted. He looked shocked. "No. No, I like working, David. I forgot how much I liked it. I'm good at it. I feel like myself again. I don't want to give that up." "So what are you saying?" "I'm saying we need to figure out a new normal. One where we both work. Where we both share the parenting and the household responsibilities equally. Where neither of us is invisible." He was quiet for a long moment. "I don't know if I can keep doing this. The stay-at-home thing, it's killing me." "Then maybe you shouldn't," I said. "Maybe you should go back to work too, and we'll figure out childcare. We'll adjust. We'll make it work." "You mean it? You don't want me to have to feel what you felt?" "I wanted you to understand, not to suffer forever. You understand now, right?" "So much," he said earnestly. So much." "Then we can move forward, together, actually together this time." He stood up, came around the table and pulled me into a hug. A real one. The kind we hadn't shared in years. "I love you," he whispered, "and I'm so sorry." "I love you too," I said, and I meant it. But I also meant everything else I'd said. Things were going to be different now. They had to be. Because I'd remembered who I was, and I wasn't going to forget again. That conversation felt like a turning point, like maybe we'd finally found our way to something better. David seemed genuinely changed. He apologized. He acknowledged everything. He saw me. But here's the thing about real change. It's not one conversation. It's not one moment of clarity. Real change is what happens in the days and weeks after that moment. It's whether someone actually follows through. "I was ashamed," he said, tears filling his eyes. "I was so ashamed I couldn't face you. I didn't know how to admit what I'd done, how to tell you that I'd been so incredibly, horribly wrong." "Then why now?" I demanded. "What changed?" Ethan wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. "Dad got remarried to a woman named Jessica. She's 28. I'm 25, Mom. His new wife is closer to my age than his. And when I met her, when I saw how he treated her, everything started clicking into place." He took another breath, steadying himself. "He's doing the same thing to her that he did to you. The little comments, the undermining, the casual cruelty disguised as jokes. And when I pointed it out, when I told him he was being unfair, he turned on me the same way he turned you into a villain. Suddenly, I was ungrateful. I didn't understand. I was taking her side over his. I sat very still, letting him talk. It made me think about everything he'd said about you over the years. And I started really remembering, not the version of events he'd fed me, but what actually happened. I remembered you crying when you had to miss my graduation because you were in the hospital. I remembered you working those extra shifts and how stressed you were. I remembered you calling me every single night when you traveled, even when it was 3 a.m. your time. His voice broke. I remembered the truth, Mom, the truth I'd let him bury under his lies, and I realized that he'd spent my entire childhood turning me against you, making me think you didn't care when you were the only one who actually did. He used me as a weapon to destroy you, and I let him. I helped him. Tears were streaming down his face now. When you filed for divorce, Dad sat me down and told me I had to choose. He said you were trying to take everything from him, that you were going to paint him as a bad father and a bad husband, that the only way to protect our family was for me to tell the judge the truth about how absent you were. He said it wasn't really lying, it was just making sure they understood the full picture. So you chose him, I said, my voice hollow. I chose the parent who was there, Ethan said. The one who hadn't missed events, the one who didn't travel. I didn't understand that he'd only been available because you were carrying the financial burden, that he'd only been present because you were making it possible. He twisted everything so perfectly that I actually believed I was doing the right thing. He reached across the table like he wanted to take my hand, but I pulled back. He flinched but continued. After the divorce, Dad told me that you'd try to contact me, that you'd make excuses, that you'd try to manipulate me into feeling guilty. He said the best thing I could do was cut you off completely. Make a clean break. Start fresh without your toxicity in our lives. And I believed him, Mom. I blocked you and I didn't look back because I thought I was protecting myself from someone who'd hurt me. I felt something hot and bitter rising in my chest. And now, what's changed? You feel guilty, so you thought you'd come unburden yourself and feel better. No, he said urgently. No, I don't expect to feel better. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just needed you to know the truth, that it wasn't your fault, that you weren't a bad mother, that everything I said in that courtroom was poisoned by Dad's manipulation, and I was too stupid and too blind to see it. You were 22 years old, Ethan, I said, my voice rising. You were an adult. You made the choice to believe him, to testify against me, to cut me out of your life. You don't get to blame it all on your father's manipulation. I know, he said, his voice barely audible. I know, and I have to live with that. I have to live with knowing that I destroyed my own mother because I was too weak to question what I was being told. I have to live with the fact that when you needed me most, I became the knife he used to stab you. We sat in silence. The cafe bustled around us, but we were in our own bubble of pain. What happened? I finally asked. What finally made you reach out now? Ethan's face crumpled. Dad kicked me out 3 months ago. I lost my job because of the economy, and I needed a place to stay while I got back on my feet. I asked if I could move back into the house that used to be yours, and he said no. Said I was an adult and I needed to figure it out myself. Said he'd done enough for me, and it was time I learned responsibility. He laughed bitterly. The same man who told me you were heartless for working to provide for us refused to help his own son when I was struggling. And when I reminded him of everything I'd done for him, the testimony, cutting you off, choosing his side, you know what he said. I waited. He said that was my choice, that he never forced me to do anything, that if I felt guilty about it, that was my problem, not his. He completely denied ever manipulating me, made me sound crazy for even suggesting it. And that's when I realized. He used me. He never loved me the way I thought he did. I was just another tool to hurt you with. Ethan buried his face in his hands. I'm homeless, Mom. I'm staying on a friend's couch. I'm working at a grocery store stocking shelves. Everything I thought I had, the relationship with Dad, the house, the security, it was all built on lies. And the person I destroyed to maintain those lies was the only one who would have actually helped me. Part of me wanted to feel vindicated, To feel satisfied that Richard had shown his true colors and Ethan was finally seeing what I'd seen. But mostly I just felt sad. Sad for all of us. Sad for the family we could have been if Richard hadn't poisoned everything. "So you want money?" I asked quietly. "Help, is that why you're here?" Ethan looked up sharply. "No, God, no, I'm not here for money. I'm here because you deserve to know the truth. Because you deserve an apology, even though I know sorry doesn't come close to covering what I did. I destroyed you, and you didn't deserve it, and I need you to know that I know that now." "But you do need help," I observed. He wiped his eyes. "I'll figure it out. I'm not here to ask you for anything except maybe, someday, if you can ever find it in your heart, forgiveness. Even if it takes years, even if it never happens. I just needed you to know that you were a good mother, that I was wrong, that none of this was your fault." I sat back in my chair, looking at this broken young man who was my son. The son I'd loved more than my own life. The son who'd shattered me, and I didn't know what to feel. "I don't know if I can forgive you," I said honestly. "What you did, Ethan, it nearly destroyed me. I had to rebuild my entire life from nothing. I had to learn how to exist in a world where my own child had abandoned me. Do you know what that feels like?" "No," he whispered, "but I'm starting to understand, and I'm so sorry." We talked for another 2 hours. He told me everything. About how Richard had systematically turned him against me from childhood. About the lies and half-truths and manipulations. About the conversations before the trial where Richard coached him on what to say. About the years after the divorce when Richard kept him isolated from anyone who might tell him a different version of events. He told me about realizing the truth slowly, painfully, over the past year. About trying to reconcile the mother he remembered with the monster his father had painted. About the guilt that ate at him every single day. And I told him my side, the full story, the context behind every missed event, the financial struggles he'd never known about, the sacrifices I'd made that Richard had never acknowledged, the truth he'd never been allowed to hear. By the time we finished talking, we were both exhausted, emotionally drained. The cafe was starting to close, the staff giving us pointed looks. "What happens now?" Ethan asked as we stood to leave. I looked at him, really looked at him. I saw the little boy who used to crawl into my lap with picture books. The teenager who'd let me hug him goodbye on his first day of high school, even though he pretended to be embarrassed. The young man who'd once told me I was his hero. But I also saw the stranger who'd sat on a witness stand and methodically destroyed me. Who'd blocked my calls and returned my letters and refused to open the door when I knocked. "I don't know," I said honestly. "I need time. I need to process this. I can't just flip a switch and pretend the last 3 years didn't happen." "I understand," he said quickly. "I completely understand. Can I call you sometimes? Check in, or is that too much?" I thought about it. "You can email me, once a week, nothing heavy, just check-ins, and we'll see where it goes from there." It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't reconciliation. But it was a crack in the door, a possibility. He nodded, tears in his eyes again. Thank you for even giving me that much." As I walked to my car, I felt strange. Not happy, not sad, just different. Like something had shifted, but I wasn't sure yet what it meant. Over the next few weeks, Ethan sent me emails like I'd asked, short updates about his life. He'd found a better job. He was moving into his own apartment. He'd started therapy to work through the trauma of Richard's manipulation. He never asked for anything, never pushed for more than I was willing to give. And slowly, carefully, I started responding with more than one-word answers. I told him about my job, about the friends I'd made, about the life I'd built without him. It wasn't easy. Some days I'd read his emails and feel the rage come flooding back. I'd remember standing in that courtroom, remember knocking on his door while he hid inside, remember the years of silence and pain. And I'd want to cut him off again, protect myself, refuse to let him back in. But other days, I'd remember that he'd been manipulated too. That he'd been a victim of Richard's cruelty, just in a different way. That he'd lost years with his mother because of lies he'd been fed since childhood. Dr. Sarah helped me navigate it. She reminded me that forgiveness wasn't something I owed anyone, that I could choose to rebuild a relationship with Ethan without excusing what he'd done. That healing wasn't linear, and I was allowed to feel conflicted. The question, she said during one session, is whether having him in your life in whatever capacity feels safe to you, adds value, or takes it away. You get to decide that. Not him, not anyone else. You. 3 months after that first meeting at the cafe, I invited Ethan to have dinner with me. Nothing fancy. Just a quiet restaurant where we could talk without the weight of our entire history crushing us. He showed up early, nervous, grateful. We talked about surface things at first. His new job in it, my upcoming work project, the weather, safe topics. But eventually, we got deeper. I've been thinking a lot about forgiveness, I said, setting down my fork, about what that means and whether I'm capable of it. Ethan went still, waiting. I don't think I can forgive you for what you did, I continued. Not fully, not in the way that erases it or makes it okay. What happened in that courtroom, the years of silence, the pain you caused, that's always going to be part of our story. I saw his face fall, but I continued. But I think I can forgive you for being human, for being manipulated, for making a terrible choice based on incomplete information. I think I can understand that you were as much a victim of your father's toxicity as I was, just in a different way. Mom. I held up my hand. I'm not done, I can forgive that, but rebuilding trust, that's going to take time, years maybe, and I need you to understand that there are going to be moments when I'm angry, when I remember and it hurts all over again, when I need space, and you have to respect that. I will, he said immediately. Whatever you need, however long it takes. I also need you to understand that I'm not the same person I was before the divorce, I said. I've changed. I've built a life that doesn't revolve around being a mother. I have boundaries now. I have priorities. And you don't automatically get to be at the center of my world just because you've apologized. He nodded, tears streaming down his face. I know, and I don't expect to be. I just want the chance to know you again, to show you that I'm not the person who hurt you, or at least I'm trying not to be. We finished dinner, and for the first time in 3 years when we said goodbye, I hugged my son. It was brief, awkward, both of us crying, but it was something. Over the following year, we slowly built a new relationship, not the one we'd had before. That was gone, destroyed by betrayal and time, but something new, something more honest. Ethan continued therapy. He worked on understanding his father's manipulation and his own responsibility in what happened. He never made excuses, but he did the hard work of figuring out how he'd been shaped by Richard's influence. I continued my own therapy. I worked on letting go of the bitterness, on accepting that some wounds heal but leave scars, on learning how to love my son again while still protecting myself. We had family dinners once a month, then twice a month. We texted regularly. He met my friends. I met his girlfriend, a kind woman named Sophie who'd helped him through his darkest times. It wasn't perfect. There were still moments of tension, times when old pain resurfaced. Holidays were complicated because Ethan had gone no contact with Richard, and that brought up its own complex emotions. But we were trying, both of us, and that meant something. One afternoon, about 18 months after our first meeting at the cafe, Ethan and I were walking through a park near my house. It was fall, leaves crunching under our feet, the air crisp and cool. I need to tell you something, he said, stopping on the path. My heart clenched automatically. After everything, I still braced for bad news. I'm writing you a letter, he said. A real letter, documenting everything that happened, everything Dad said to manipulate me, every lie, every instance of coaching before the trial, all of it. Why? I asked. Because you could reopen the divorce settlement, he said. With my testimony about Dad's manipulation, about how he used me as a weapon, you could challenge the judgment. Get back what you deserved. The house, the money, everything he stole from you. I stared at him, shocked. Ethan, that would mean testifying against your father again. It would mean going through everything publicly. I know, he said firmly, and I'm ready. You lost everything because of me, because I was weak and blind and I let him use me. This is the least I can do to make it right." I felt tears prick my eyes. I don't need the house or the money. I've built a good life without those things. "But you deserve them," he insisted. "You deserve justice, and I want to be the one to help you get it." I looked at my son, standing there with determination in his eyes, and saw him truly for the first time in years. Not the little boy he'd been, not the stranger who'd betrayed me, but the man he was becoming, someone willing to face his mistakes, to make amends, to fight for what was right even when it was hard. "Ms. Martinez, this is Principal Chen. We need you to come pick up Emma. There's been an incident." My blood ran cold. "What kind of incident? Is she hurt?" "She's physically fine, but we need you here, now." I dropped everything and raced to the school. When I got there, I was led to the principal's office where Emma sat, tear-stained and silent. "Emma, baby, what happened?" Principal Chen cleared her throat. "Emma had a breakdown in class today. She started crying and couldn't stop. When her teacher tried to calm her down, she said, and I quote, 'Nobody cares about me anymore. Mommy's always working and Daddy doesn't even see me.'" I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. "She's been showing signs of stress for weeks," the principal continued. "Missed homework, social withdrawal. Her teacher's been trying to reach out, but she hasn't been getting responses." "Responses? I haven't gotten any emails." "We've been emailing Mr. Martinez, since he's listed as the primary contact now. David was supposed to be handling school communication, and he'd been ignoring it." "I'm so sorry," I said, pulling Emma into my arms. "I had no idea." I took Emma home. She cried the whole way, not loud sobbing, just silent tears streaming down her face. When we got home, David was exactly where I expected him to be, on the couch, scrolling his phone. He looked up when we walked in. "You're home early," he said. "Emma had a breakdown at school," I said, my voice ice. "They called me because they've been trying to reach you for weeks and you haven't been responding." He had the decency to look ashamed. "I've been meaning to check those emails." "Meaning to? David, our daughter is falling apart. Jake's getting in fights. Lily's having nightmares. And you're sitting here feeling sorry for yourself while our children suffer." "I'm doing my best." "No, you're not," I finally exploded. "Your best would be actually trying, actually showing up, actually being a parent instead of just existing in the same space as them." Emma flinched. I was yelling, I never yelled. I took a breath. "Emma, go to your room, sweetie. I need to talk to Daddy." She ran upstairs, and I heard her door close. David and I stared at each other. "This isn't working," I said. "No, it's not." "You need help, David. Real help, professional help." "You think I'm crazy." "I think you're depressed. I think you're struggling. And I think you need to talk to someone before this gets worse." He was quiet for a long time, then quietly, "Okay. Okay. Okay, I'll get help, you're right. I can't do this on my own." It was the first honest thing he'd said in weeks. David started therapy the next week. Twice a week, he'd drive to appointments with a counselor who specialized in men's mental health and life transitions. I didn't ask what they talked about. That was his business, but I could see small changes. He was getting out of bed earlier, showering, getting dressed in actual clothes instead of living in sweatpants. But the house was still a mess. The kids were still struggling, and I was still carrying everything while also working full-time. Something had to give. We sat down one Sunday evening after the kids were in bed. A real conversation. The first one we'd had in weeks where we were both actually present. "I can't keep doing this," I said. David's face fell. "You want a divorce?" "What? No. I mean, I can't keep being the only functional parent while working full-time. Something has to change." He exhaled in relief. "Okay, what do you want to change?" "I think you need to go back to work." He looked at me carefully. "Really? Really? This isn't working. You're miserable. The kids are suffering. We have the money now between my salary and savings. We can afford full-time childcare. We can both work and share parenting responsibilities equally. You're not going to say I told you so. No, David, I'm not, because this isn't about winning. This is about our family surviving. He nodded slowly. I reached out to my old boss last week. They have an opening, not my old position, but something similar. I could start in 2 weeks. I was surprised. You already did that. My therapist suggested it, said I needed to start taking steps toward something instead of just sitting in my misery. That's good. That's really good. So we're really doing this, both working. Yeah, equal partners, 50-50 on everything. How do we make that work? We spent the next 2 hours planning, creating systems, dividing responsibilities, figuring out logistics. We'd hire a full-time nanny for after school, keep the housekeeper, trade off who did morning routine and who did evening, split weekends, share the mental load by using a shared calendar and task app. On paper, it looked perfect. In reality, it was about to get complicated. David went back to work. The first week he was energized, happy. He was himself again, coming home with stories about his day, engaged with the kids, actually present. And I was happy for him, genuinely happy. But I also noticed something. When it was his day for morning routine, he'd sometimes have an early meeting and I'd have to cover. When it was his turn to leave work for pickup, he'd sometimes get stuck in a meeting and I'd have to figure it out. The mental load we'd agreed to share, still mostly on me. I was the one who remembered doctor's appointments, who signed permission slips, who bought birthday gifts for parties, who tracked what we needed at the grocery store. David was back at work, but I was still doing most of the parenting. 2 months in, I hit my breaking point. It was a Thursday, my turn for evening duty. I'd left work early to get the kids, taken them to Jake's soccer practice, helped Emma with a school project, made dinner, supervised homework, done baths and bedtime. David had texted at 6. Running late, big presentation, don't wait up. He walked in at 9:30. I was on the couch with a glass of wine, exhausted. Hey babe, he said, loosening his tie. What a day. Presentation went great though. Boss was really impressed. Hum. Kids asleep. Yep. You okay? You seem quiet. I took a long sip of wine. David, today was your day. What? Today, Thursday. It was your day for evening duty. We have it on the calendar. You were supposed to leave work at 4 to get the kids. His face went pale. Oh shit, I completely forgot. I'm so sorry. The presentation just took over my whole day and This is the 3rd time this month. I know. Work's just been really demanding. And mine hasn't. David, I left a really important meeting today to get the kids. I had to explain to my boss why I couldn't stay. Do you know how that looks? How it affects my career? You should have called me. I would have figured it out. I did call you. 4 times, you didn't answer. He pulled out his phone. Oh, I had it on silent for the presentation. Right, because your work is more important. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. I set down my wine glass and stood up. We made a deal, David, equal partnership, 50-50, but it's not 50-50. I'm still doing at least 70% of everything. That's not true. Isn't it? When's Emma's next dentist appointment? He stared at me blankly. When does Jake need his booster shot? Nothing. What's the theme of Lily's class party next week? Silence. See, you're going through the motions, doing tasks when I remind you, but you're not actually carrying the mental load. You're not the default parent. I am, still. Sarah, I'm trying. I know you are, but trying isn't enough. I need you to actually do it, not just when it's convenient, not just when work doesn't get in the way, all the time, the way I have to. So what do you want from me? I want you to remember that our kids exist even when you're at work. I want you to put their needs equal to your career. I want you to understand that just because you're back at a job doesn't mean you get to stop being a fully present parent. He ran his hands through his hair. This is impossible. How do people do this? How do people balance everything? Most people have a partner who shows up, really shows up. I am showing up. Are you? Because from where I'm standing, you went back to work and immediately went back to all your old patterns. You're the important one with the important job. I'm the backup, the default, the one who picks up all the slack. That's not fair. None of this is fair, David. That's the point. I've been screaming that for months. We were both standing now, both angry, both frustrated. I don't know what you want from me, he said, voice rising. I went to therapy. I admitted I was wrong. I tried being a stay-at-home parent. I learned how hard it is. What more do you want? I want you to actually change, not just admit you were wrong and then go right back to how things were. I have changed. No, you haven't. You're the exact same person you were 6 months ago. You just have guilt now. The words hung in the air between us. David stared at me. You're never going to forgive me, are you? No matter what I do, it'll never be enough. I don't know, I said honestly. Maybe you're right. Maybe I can't forgive you. Maybe the resentment is too deep. So what does that mean? I don't know, David. I really don't know. He grabbed his keys from the counter. I need to go for a drive. David. But he was already out the door. I stood in our kitchen, alone, and finally let myself cry. Really cry. For the first time in this whole mess, I let myself feel everything. The anger, the betrayal, the exhaustion, the loneliness. I'd gotten my career back. I'd proven my point. David understood now how hard my life had been. But our marriage was broken. Our family was strained, and I didn't know how to fix it. My phone buzzed, a text from David. Staying at a hotel tonight, need space to think. I texted back, okay. And then I poured another glass of wine and sat in the dark, wondering how we'd gotten here. Wondering if we could ever find our way back. Or if some things, once broken, stay broken forever. David didn't come home the next morning, or the morning after that. He texted that he needed a few days, that his therapist had squeezed in an emergency session, that he was thinking, processing, trying to figure things out. I told the kids that Daddy was on a business trip. Emma looked at me with knowing eyes that were far too old for an 8-year-old. You guys had a fight, she said. It wasn't a question. Grown-ups sometimes need space, I said carefully. Are you getting divorced? My heart cracked. I don't know, baby, I hope not, but I don't know. She nodded like she'd expected that answer and went back to her homework. So calm, so resigned, like she'd already been preparing herself for this possibility. That hurt more than anything. I called my best friend, Jessica, that night after the kids were in bed. I hadn't talked to her much in the past few months. I'd been so wrapped up in work and this whole situation with David that I'd neglected my friendships. Sarah, oh my God, I've been wondering how you are. How's the whole role reversal thing going? And I told her everything. The whole story from beginning to end. David's dismissiveness. The challenge, me going back to work, him struggling, the breakthrough, him going back to work. And now this, the fight, him leaving, everything falling apart. She listened without interrupting, which is one of the things I loved most about her. When I finished, there was a long pause. Sarah, she finally said, can I be really honest with you? Please. What did you actually want out of this? Like, really want? I opened my mouth to answer and realized I didn't know. At first, I just wanted him to understand, I said slowly, to see how hard my life was, to appreciate me. And did he? Yes, he really did. He gets it now. But you're still angry. Yeah. Why? I sat with that question, really sat with it. Because understanding isn't enough, I finally said. Because he had to live it to believe me. Because for 8 years, I told him I was struggling and he didn't care enough to listen. Because he only valued what I did when he had to do it himself. Because even now, even after everything, he's still falling back into the same patterns. So you don't think he can actually change? I don't know, maybe. But maybe the damage is already done. Maybe I resent him too much. Maybe I've realized I don't actually need him anymore. Saying it out loud made it real. Terrifying, but real. Do you still love him? Jessica asked quietly. I think so, but I'm not sure love is enough. I love the man I thought he was, the partner I thought we could be, but I don't know if that person actually exists. What do the kids need? They need stability. They need parents who don't resent each other. They need a home that isn't full of tension and unspoken anger. That could be 2 homes, she said gently. It doesn't have to be one home with 2 miserable parents. I knew she was right, but the thought of actually ending my marriage, of blowing up our family, felt overwhelming. I don't know what to do, I whispered. Then don't do anything yet. Sit with it. Let David sit with it, see what happens. We talked for another hour, about life and kids and careers and marriage, about how hard it all was, how nothing was simple. When I hung up, I felt marginally better, not fixed but less alone. Day 3 of David's absence, he called. Can we talk? He asked, in person. Okay, when? Tonight. I can come by after the kids are in bed. All right. I spent the day anxious, preparing for what felt like the most important conversation of our marriage. I didn't know if this would be the talk where we fixed things or the talk where we ended them. The kids sensed something was up. They were clingy, fighting more. Lily asked twice when Daddy was coming home. Jake built a tower of blocks and then violently knocked it down over and over. Children absorb everything, even what we don't say out loud. By the time I got them to bed, I was exhausted, emotionally wrung out. I changed into comfortable clothes, made tea instead of wine because I wanted to be clear-headed, and waited. David arrived at 8:30. He looked terrible, unshaven, dark circles under his eyes, rumpled clothes, like he hadn't slept in days. Hey, he said quietly. Hey. We sat in the living room, the same room where this had all started months ago, where he'd first said I had it easy, where we'd made our deal. It felt like a lifetime ago. I've been doing a lot of thinking, David started, talking with my therapist, trying to figure out where everything went wrong. I stayed quiet, letting him speak. I think I understand some things now that I didn't before, about myself, about us. He took a deep breath. My therapist asked me why I was so threatened by your success, and I didn't have an answer at first. I kept saying I wasn't threatened, that I was happy for you, but she pushed me to really examine it. And the truth is, I built my entire identity around being the provider, the successful one, the important one. My dad was like that. It's what I thought being a man meant, being a husband meant. So when you started succeeding, when you didn't need me anymore in that way, I didn't know who I was. He was being honest, really honest. I could see how hard this was for him. Being home with the kids destroyed me, he continued. Not because it was hard, though it was, but because I felt worthless, like I didn't matter, like anyone could do what I was doing. There was nothing special about making lunches or breaking up fights, and I realized that's exactly how I made you feel for 8 years. Tears were building in my eyes. You did matter, he said, voice breaking. Everything you did mattered. You were holding our entire world together, and I was too blind and selfish and arrogant to see it. And I'm so sorry. A tear rolled down my cheek. I know you are. But sorry isn't enough, is it? No, I said honestly, it's not. He nodded like he'd expected that answer. What would be enough? I don't know if anything is. David, you broke something in me. For years, I begged you to see me, to value me, to help me, and you couldn't be bothered. You made me feel small and worthless and invisible. And now, yes, you understand. Yes, you're sorry, but I don't know if I can get past the fact that you had to experience it yourself to believe me. That my words, my feelings, my experience wasn't enough. I was a terrible husband. Yeah, you were. We sat in that truth for a moment. My therapist asked me what I want, David said. For our marriage, for our family, for my life. What did you say? I said I want you, I want us, I want to fix this. But then she asked me what I was willing to actually do differently, not just say, but do, and I realized I didn't have a good answer. Do you have one now? He looked at me with red-rimmed eyes. I think I need to keep working. I can't be a stay-at-home parent. It's not who I am, but I can be a better partner. I can actually show up. Not just when it's convenient, but really show up. I can carry half the mental load. I can make our kids a priority equal to my career. I can value your career the way I value mine. Can you? I asked. Or is that just what you think I want to hear? I don't know, he admitted. I want to believe I can, but I've failed at this before. What if I fail again? Then we're done, I said simply. David, I meant what I said. I can't keep being the only one carrying everything. I won't. I've built a life now, a career, an identity outside of being your wife and their mother, and I'm not giving that up. So if we stay together, it has to be as actual equals, not you saying the right things and then slowly sliding back to old patterns. How do I prove that to you? I don't know, time, I guess, consistency, actually following through. He nodded slowly. What if we tried counseling, together? I'm willing to try that. Yeah, but David, I need you to understand something. I'm not the same person I was 6 months ago. I'm not going to shrink myself to make you comfortable. I'm not going to apologize for my success or dim my light so you can shine brighter. If you can't handle being married to an equal, then we need to end this now. I want to be married to an equal, he said. I want to be married to you, the real you, the strong, capable, brilliant you. I'm just scared I don't know how. Then learn, figure it out, do the work, actually try. I will, I promise I will. Don't promise me, David, show me. He reached for my hand. I let him take it. Can I come home? He asked quietly. I thought about it, really thought about it. Not yet, I finally said. I think we need some more time, some more space. I think we should start marriage counseling and see how it goes. And if we can find our way back to each other, really back to each other, then yes. Come home. He looked hurt but nodded. Okay, that's fair. I'm not trying to punish you. I'm protecting myself. And the kids. We need to make sure this is real before we put them through any more upheaval. I understand. We sat there for a while longer, talking through logistics. He'd stay in a long-term rental. We'd split custody. We'd start couples counseling. We'd take it week by week. It wasn't the resolution I'd imagined. It wasn't dramatic or final. It was messy and uncertain and real. When he left that night, I didn't know if our marriage would survive. I didn't know if we could actually rebuild what we'd broken. But for the first time in a long time, I felt like we were both being honest. Really, truly honest. And maybe that was something to build on. Or maybe it was just the beginning of the end. Only time would tell. The next morning, I had to tell the kids, really tell them. I sat them all down at breakfast, 3 pairs of eyes looking at me with varying levels of understanding. Daddy's not on a business trip, is he? Emma said. No, sweetie, he's not. Mommy and Daddy are having some problems, adult problems, and we need some time apart to figure things out. Are you getting divorced? She asked again. We don't know yet. We're going to try to fix things, but Daddy's going to be living somewhere else for a little while. You'll still see him all the time. He loves you so much. We both do. This isn't about you at all. Jake started crying. Lily just stared at her cereal. I pulled them all into a hug, holding them tight while Jake sobbed into my shoulder. I want Daddy, he cried. I know, baby. I know. You're going to see him today after school. He's picking you up and you'll spend the afternoon with him. But I want him to come home. I know. We're working on it. Emma pulled away from the hug, her face hard. This is your fault. I felt like I'd been slapped. Emma, you made Daddy leave. You made him be a stay-at-home dad, and it made him sad, and now he's gone. Sweetheart, that's not what happened. Yes, it is. Everything was fine before. Daddy went to work and you stayed home and we were happy. And then you had to go back to work and ruin everything. She ran upstairs, slamming her door. I sat there with the twins, both of us crying now. Mommy, Lily said softly. Yeah, baby. Is Emma right? Is this your fault? I looked at my 5-year-old daughter and tried to figure out how to explain something I barely understood myself. It's nobody's fault, I finally said. Sometimes grown-ups need to make changes, and sometimes those changes are hard, but Daddy and I are both trying our best. Okay. She nodded, not really understanding but accepting it. I got them to school somehow, held it together through drop-off, made it to work. And then I locked myself in my office and cried. My assistant knocked gently. "Sarah, are you okay?" "Fine," I called out. "Just need a minute." But I wasn't fine. Emma's words were echoing in my head. Was this my fault? Had I destroyed our family by refusing to stay small, by demanding equality, by wanting more than just being invisible? No, I pushed that thought away. I hadn't destroyed anything. I just stopped pretending everything was fine when it wasn't. But God, it hurt. All of it hurt. My phone buzzed. A text from David. "Emma called me crying, said you told them we're separating. I'm leaving work to go talk to her." I texted back. "She's at school, and yes, I told them the truth. They deserve to know." "You should have waited for me. We should have told them together." "You weren't here, David. I had to handle it." "Like you handle everything else, alone, without me." I stared at the text, anger rising. I called him. "Don't you dare," I said the moment he picked up. "Don't you dare make me the villain here. You left. You needed space. I'm the one who's been here every single day dealing with the fallout of our mess. So if I had to tell the kids without you, that's on you, not me." "Sarah." And for the record, Emma's mad at me because she's 8 and she doesn't understand complexity. She sees that things changed when I went back to work. She doesn't understand that things were already broken, that I was already drowning, that you were already failing us. I'm trying to fix that. I know you are, but trying doesn't erase the damage. It doesn't make this easier. It doesn't make our daughter hate me less right now. My voice broke on the last word. There was a long silence. "I'm sorry," David said quietly. "You're right. You've been dealing with everything. Like always, I'm sorry." "I'm so tired, David. I'm so tired of all of this." "I know, me too." "I have to go. I have a meeting in 10 minutes and I need to fix my makeup." "Okay, I love you." I paused. "I love you too. I think I don't know anymore." I hung up before he could respond. That night, David had the kids. I came home to an empty house for the first time in 8 years. And I didn't know whether to celebrate the peace or cry at the loneliness. So I did both. I opened a bottle of wine, ordered food just for me, and sat in the silence. This was what I'd wanted, right? Space, time for myself, freedom. So why did it feel so much like loss? "I've been doing a lot of thinking," David started, "talking with my therapist, trying to figure out where everything went wrong." I stayed quiet, letting him speak. "I think I understand some things now that I didn't before, about myself, about us." He took a deep breath. "My therapist asked me why I was so threatened by your success, and I didn't have an answer at first. I kept saying I wasn't threatened, that I was happy for you, but she pushed me to really examine it. And the truth is, I built my entire identity around being the provider, the successful one, the important one. My dad was like that. It's what I thought being a man meant, being a husband meant. So when you started succeeding, when you didn't need me anymore in that way, I didn't know who I was." He was being honest, really honest. I could see how hard this was for him. "Being home with the kids destroyed me," he continued. "Not because it was hard, though it was, but because I felt worthless, like I didn't matter, like anyone could do what I was doing. There was nothing special about making lunches or breaking up fights, and I realized that's exactly how I made you feel for 8 years. Tears were building in my eyes. "You did matter," he said, voice breaking. "Everything you did mattered. You were holding our entire world together and I was too blind and selfish and arrogant to see it. And I'm so sorry." A tear rolled down my cheek. "I know you are. But sorry isn't enough, is it?" "No," I said honestly, "it's not." He nodded like he'd expected that answer. "What would be enough?" "I don't know if anything is. David, you broke something in me. For years I begged you to see me, to value me, to help me, and you couldn't be bothered. You made me feel small and worthless and invisible. And now, yes, you understand. Yes, you're sorry, but I don't know if I can get past the fact that you had to experience it yourself to believe me. That my words, my feelings, my experience wasn't enough. I was a terrible husband. Yeah, you were. We sat in that truth for a moment. My therapist asked me what I want, David said. For our marriage, for our family, for my life. What did you say? I said I want you, I want us, I want to fix this. But then she asked me what I was willing to actually do differently, not just say, but do, and I realized I didn't have a good answer. Do you have one now? He looked at me with red-rimmed eyes. I think I need to keep working. I can't be a stay-at-home parent. It's not who I am, but I can be a better partner. I can actually show up, not just when it's convenient, but really show up. I can carry half the mental load. I can make our kids a priority equal to my career. I can value your career the way I value mine. Can you? I asked. Or is that just what you think I want to hear? I don't know, he admitted. I want to believe I can, but I've failed at this before. What if I fail again? Then we're done, I said simply. David, I meant what I said. I can't keep being the only one carrying everything. I won't. I've built a life now, a career, an identity outside of being your wife and their mother, and I'm not giving that up. So if we stay together, it has to be as actual equals, not you saying the right things and then slowly sliding back to old patterns. How do I prove that to you? I don't know, time, I guess, consistency, actually following through. He nodded slowly. What if we tried counseling, together? I'm willing to try that. Yeah, but David, I need you to understand something. I'm not the same person I was 6 months ago. I'm not going to shrink myself to make you comfortable. I'm not going to apologize for my success or dim my light so you can shine brighter. If you can't handle being married to an equal, then we need to end this now. I want to be married to an equal, he said. I want to be married to you, the real you, the strong, capable, brilliant you. I'm just scared I don't know how. Then learn, figure it out, do the work, actually try. I will, I promise I will. Don't promise me, David, show me. He reached for my hand. I let him take it. Can I come home? He asked quietly. I thought about it, really thought about it. Not yet, I finally said. I think we need some more time, some more space. I think we should start marriage counseling and see how it goes. And if we can find our way back to each other, really back to each other, then yes. Come home. He looked hurt but nodded. Okay, that's fair. I'm not trying to punish you. I'm protecting myself. And the kids. We need to make sure this is real before we put them through any more upheaval. I understand. We sat there for a while longer, talking through logistics. He'd stay in a long-term rental. We'd split custody. We'd start couples counseling. We'd take it week by week. It wasn't the resolution I'd imagined. It wasn't dramatic or final. It was messy and uncertain and real. When he left that night, I didn't know if our marriage would survive. I didn't know if we could actually rebuild what we'd broken. But for the first time in a long time, I felt like we were both being honest. Really, truly honest. And maybe that was something to build on. Or maybe it was just the beginning of the end. Only time would tell. The next morning, I had to tell the kids, really tell them. I sat them all down at breakfast, 3 pairs of eyes looking at me with varying levels of understanding. Daddy's not on a business trip, is he? Emma said. No, sweetie, he's not. Mommy and Daddy are having some problems, adult problems, and we need some time apart to figure things out. Are you getting divorced? She asked again. We don't know yet. We're going to try to fix things, but Daddy's going to be living somewhere else for a little while. You'll still see him all the time. He loves you so much. We both do. This isn't about you at all. Jake started crying. Lily just stared at her cereal. I pulled them all into a hug, holding them tight while Jake sobbed into my shoulder. I want Daddy, he cried. I know, baby. I know. You're going to see him today after school. He's picking you up and you'll spend the afternoon with him. But I want him to come home. I know. We're working on it. Emma pulled away from the hug, her face hard. This is your fault. I felt like I'd been slapped. Emma, you made Daddy leave. You made him be a stay-at-home dad, and it made him sad, and now he's gone. Sweetheart, that's not what happened. Yes, it is. Everything was fine before. Daddy went to work and you stayed home and we were happy. And then you had to go back to work and ruin everything. She ran upstairs, slamming her door. I sat there with the twins, both of us crying now. Mommy, Lily said softly. Yeah, baby. Is Emma right? Is this your fault? I looked at my 5-year-old daughter and tried to figure out how to explain something I barely understood myself. It's nobody's fault, I finally said. Sometimes grown-ups need to make changes, and sometimes those changes are hard, but Daddy and I are both trying our best. Okay. She nodded, not really understanding but accepting it. I got them to school somehow, held it together through drop-off, made it to work. And then I locked myself in my office and cried. My assistant knocked gently. Sarah, are you okay? Fine, I called out. Just need a minute. But I wasn't fine. Emma's words were echoing in my head. Was this my fault? Had I destroyed our family by refusing to stay small, by demanding equality, by wanting more than just being invisible? No, I pushed that thought away. I hadn't destroyed anything. I just stopped pretending everything was fine when it wasn't. But God, it hurt. All of it hurt. My phone buzzed. A text from David. Emma called me crying, said you told them we're separating. I'm leaving work to go talk to her. I texted back. She's at school, and yes, I told them the truth. They deserve to know. You should have waited for me. We should have told them together. You weren't here, David. I had to handle it. Like you handle everything else, alone, without me. I stared at the text, anger rising. I called him. Don't you dare, I said the moment he picked up. Don't you dare make me the villain here. You left. You needed space. I'm the one who's been here every single day dealing with the fallout of our mess. So if I had to tell the kids without you, that's on you, not me. Sarah. And for the record, Emma's mad at me because she's 8 and she doesn't understand complexity. She sees that things changed when I went back to work. She doesn't understand that things were already broken, that I was already drowning, that you were already failing us. I'm trying to fix that. I know you are, but trying doesn't erase the damage. It doesn't make this easier. It doesn't make our daughter hate me less right now. My voice broke on the last word. There was a long silence. I'm sorry, David said quietly. You're right. You've been dealing with everything. Like always, I'm sorry. I'm so tired, David. I'm so tired of all of this. I know, me too. I have to go. I have a meeting in 10 minutes and I need to fix my makeup. Okay, I love you. I paused. I love you too. I think I don't know anymore. I hung up before he could respond. That night, David had the kids. I came home to an empty house for the first time in 8 years. And I didn't know whether to celebrate the peace or cry at the loneliness. So I did both. I opened a bottle of wine, ordered food just for me, and sat in the silence. This was what I'd wanted, right? Space, time for myself, freedom. So why did it feel so much like loss?